Hey M Squad, and welcome back to our YouTube channel. My name of course is Ronziem, and of course by now I'm sure you guys know that I am the narrator of our YouTube series called Creative Minds, the series. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and tell a friend to check us out. Now, as you guys know by now, every week we come through with a different young person born and bred in Limpopo, who is kind of narrating their story and giving us inspiration as to how they became themselves. And today's episode is no different from all the other episodes that we've had. The episode is not only inspirational, but it is like eye-opening on another level. Personally, I've learned that endurance is key, and I've also learned that it's very important to never give up on yourself and on your dreams. Now, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and you know what, drum roll please, because today we have on our platform Lulamile, who's a 21-year-old designer, guys. So guys, Lulamile is actually 21 years old. He recently just turned 21. So once again, I would like to say happy birthday to him. I'm wishing him the absolute best in the year ahead. May he continue to be a creative designer and may he continue to dress people in clothing that makes them feel happy all around. Now, Lulamile is actually from Jerome Village, which is not that far from where I am. Only about like 30 minutes to get to town, the CBD, where I'm actually from. Now, he has 6 siblings. He's number 5. He has a younger sister. He describes himself as a designer. He's part of running a brand creative, and he's all around a hustler. Now, he's very honest about the fact that he kind of grew up in a poor condition, and for the longest time, his mom lived in his grandmother's house with, his uncle's kids. And so pretty much they had to kind of coexist for as long as they had to until his mom, got back on her feet and was able to kind of buy her own stand. And only then, when he was about 1 year old, they were able to move into their new house. And you know how it is when you move into your new house around 2001, back then in 2001, and they had to adjust and kind of start from scratch. And he narrates that it wasn't necessarily easy, but it was worth it because finally they were just kind of getting better in life and things were kind of starting to work out. He narrates a story about how when he was in grade R, he actually sat next to a bully. And so he was a pretty mild-mannered guy, and the guy would, ask him to like go and fetch water. And so that whole experience in a nutshell taught him that, in life, and this is a direct quote from him, in life there will always be people behind your back talking about you, criticizing you, but it's not important, because the most important thing for you not to do is give up. Now, Lulamile had a pretty normal childhood. You know how children can be. He narrates a story about how he once teased another kid from his school while they were in the bus, and when they got to school, that kid was like, you know what, this guy is teasing me about my grandmother, and so I'm not gonna let this one slide. So he went and told the teachers, and Lou actually narrates the story about how he got his ass whooped for like almost 3 days consecutively just for making fun of somebody's grandmother. So even then, he went home and he told his mother, and because of the relationship that they have together with his mom was like, not my child, I'm going to school, I want to find out what actually happened. So his mom has always been an active participant in his life, and she's just always been there, even though he's never necessarily had a relationship with his dad. He speaks very highly of his mother, and you can tell that, this guy and his mother are pretty close. So he pretty much went through his primary schooling years just being a normal kid. In grade 8, he had to move to Shingwetse High, where he kind of met with a few of his old friends, not too many though. And the crazy part is that at that point, he's kind of like settling into his new life as a high school student. And so sometimes he'd actually have to walk to school. And this is not like a little distance. This is like a crazy distance. Like, not even like something that you just do casually. Like, you'd have to like literally prepare yourself to walk to school every morning. And so he narrates that was actually one of the hardest parts of his life at the time, just knowing that sometimes, he's got transport to go to school, and when things are not 100% okay, then he pretty much has to walk. And so I can imagine it must have been a hard knock life for him. Fast forward to grade 10, he's still at Chingwezi, and you know what? He's like, okay, I'm trying to make something of myself in life. And at that time, even though he was a creative and he was a designer, he was trying to have like that academic background so that he can kind of sustain himself. And so at that time, he decided, I'm actually going to take the science stream. I'm going the science route of things. And yeah, let's see how that works out. So he was optimistic about having taken the science route. So he goes about the science stream, and it didn't necessarily go well for him. You know how maths is. Maths was also not a friend to me. Maths, physical science, like just science in a nutshell, was just not cooperating with him. So he ends up failing his first time doing grade 10, and he shifts from Chingwezi to Lulamile High. And guess what? He meets a lot of the people that he actually went to primary school with. So it's like the distance is better because it's not that far. You meet people that you're familiar with, and then he just kind of settles into a different faculty, and things begin to work out in his favor. And he kind of quote unquote says he was like, a small genius nyana at the time, because he really could understand everything that was being taught, and his grades were sufficient. And at that time, I can imagine mom was happy because she's like, oh my goodness, thank God he's finally doing well at school. And so, obviously he's gonna make it. So he pretty much continues walking. Sometimes he has transport to school, depending on lifts whenever it's possible. But for a majority of the time, he's still walking. Grade 10, he does well at Lulamile High. He passes his grade 11, and his grade 12 as well. And, he narrates a story of how grade 12 was pretty much like a good year. At that time, he had become like a full-fledged designer, even though he started learning how to design clothing and different garments, from
Make that booty drop. 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 Make that booty drop.
I remember I was in grade 6. Mana va tshama ka va rhunga swibelani swa tradition. Leswa swo vekeliwa tiribono. A va ta ku karhi un'wana va ku hi mini karhele ta ku dyondzisa ku rhunga. A ni ta rhunga ntsena ku fambisa layini, a ni kha ni gandlagandla tiriboni leti a ni kha ni fambisa tilayini, a ni kha ni sungula kha ni tiva ku okay muchini wu tirhisisiwa leswiwani ku leswiwani. Then in grade 7 leze ni nga phungela nyana, ni teka buruku yin'wana ya mina ni yi tsemelela ni yi vekela leswiya swa swi ri fashionini by that time. Ni kha ni vekela swilo leswiya swo designer nyana. I vanhu va friends ta mina ta hamba ti tisa a yi vekeleli na yina na hamba ni vekela. And in grade 8 loko se ni khanya mahlweni se ni kha ni tiva ku rhunga, u vona ti-grey letiya ta le xikolweni va ku va munhu ambale grey ya skin jean, a ni ti endla letiya ti-grey ta ti-skin jeans. Ivi na ti-buruku tin'wana u kuma ku ku na vanhu vo xava ti-buruku letiya ta ti-boot. ti-bootleg a ni fika ni ti hunguta ni va endlela ti-skin jeans, vanhu vo tala va ti rhandza ngopfu. That time va ni kha ni design va kha yi tala laha amhleketeni.
So lo and behold, around about the same time, he actually, links up with the people that are heading up creative brand CC. He meets them at Gab's Embroidery in Gantanani, and these guys needed someone to make hats for them, and so he had to design hats. And so they gave him, a specific amount of money. He didn't disclose how much, to go to Venda. He didn't find the material. He went around until he found it, and he was asked to design a yellow hat. So he sat down with them, Kani and GT. The official designer was then named as Lulamile, aka Lunguni, after they saw the yellow hat. So thanks to the yellow hat, he became the official designer for creative brand CC. And as Cody says, each and every day there's always something that I want to learn. And so that, in a nutshell, is pretty explanatory of the kind of person that he is. He's an eager learner, a humble guy, and he's just somebody who's just an all-round amazing person to be around, because he's always thinking of innovative ways to make things 10 times better. So guys, to this day, he still makes garments with his mother. Him and his siblings. He has another sibling that actually both know how to make garments. Those are the two people that, his mom was able to teach the trade to. I asked him what his 5-year plan is, and he said he's just eager in creating new things, especially in designs. He designs this crazy black and white dual colored t-shirt. And it's actually one of my favorite designs to date, because I've never seen anything quite like it. Now guys, the person that we're talking about is the jack of all trades. Not only is he a designer, but he used to be a rapper back in the day, and he became a rapper after he was recruited by a neighbor friend who wanted him to accompany him to studio. While he was at studio, he became envious. A few days later, he wrote his own song and, even collaborated with T-Rex, who's also a rapper, on a song called My Nigga. In 2018, he released Dark Side, which was probably the last song he planned to release by himself. And it featured Droshka Angel, who is from Section A, Droshka is from Shikalani, and Taylor Dog, who's from Jiram. Needless to say, 2020 has been a trying year. A year where the uniform and ultimate goal was and remains to survive. And as the youth of the world, we did just that. And though many lives have been lost, a grim reality that we as a brand are deeply saddened by, we do know one thing for sure. It's always darkest before dawn, and the sun will shine again. With our masks and sanitizers in hand, we, the creative youth of the world, still aim